It was just after 1:45 in the morning on January 15th, 2023, when a University of Alabama campus police officer saw headlights flashing toward him from the Tuscaloosa Strip. The Strip was usually alive with late-night activity, students moving between bars and restaurants, music thumping from clubs, and cars inching through crowded streets. But this time, what caught the officer's attention wasn't the nightlife. It was a frantic man waving his arms out the window, yelling desperately for help. The car screeched to a stop, and as the officer approached, he could see the young woman slumped in the front passenger seat. Her boyfriend's voice cracked as he cried out, "My girlfriend's been shot." Within seconds, the Strip, once filled with laughter and music, was flooded with flashing red and blue lights. What had begun as an ordinary food run turned into a tragedy that would ripple through a family, a university, and an entire community. Her name was Jamea Jonae Harris. She was only 23 years old. To the world, she would quickly become a headline. Mother killed near Alabama campus in shooting involving basketball player. But to those who loved her, she was so much more. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, Jamea had built a life defined by determination, love, and her devotion to her son. Friends and family remembered her smile as one that could light up any room, her energy as the kind that made people feel at ease, and her heart as one that was always focused on others. She had graduated from Minor High School and was working at Amazon to support her little boy. More than anything, she was a mother, and every decision she made centered around her son, Cain. To understand the weight of what was lost, you first have to know this. Jamea was someone who lived for her family. Her world revolved around her child. She worked hard, stayed close to her loved ones, and carried herself with a warmth that her family says can never be replaced. On the night of January 14th, 2023, Jamea joined her boyfriend Cedric Johnson and her cousin, Asia Humphrey, for a night out. The seating arrangement in the car was simple. Cedric behind the wheel, Jamea riding in the front passenger seat, and Asia in the back. They were like many young people in Tuscaloosa that night, out to enjoy themselves, grab some food, and unwind. But along the Strip, they encountered two men whose actions would alter their lives forever. Darius Miles, a University of Alabama basketball player, and his friend Michael Buzz Davis. What began as a casual night soon turned into something darker. According to testimony, Davis and Miles allegedly approached Jamea, attempting to flirt. She rejected their advances, making it clear she wasn't interested. That should have been the end of it. But tensions simmered instead of cooling down. As Cedric Johnson tried to navigate the busy Strip, another detail came into play. The presence of Brandon Miller, another Alabama basketball player, who had been contacted by Miles earlier in the night. Miles allegedly asked Miller to bring his car to the Strip, and inside that car was Miles's firearm. Miller complied, later saying he didn't know how the weapon would be used. What happened next would be scrutinized in courtrooms, newsrooms, and living rooms across the nation. The prosecution argued that Miller's car was positioned in a way that blocked Cedric Johnson's vehicle, preventing them from leaving quickly. The defense rebutted this, insisting Miller was not blocking anyone and had no idea violence was about to unfold. The Strip was crowded, the minutes after 1 a.m. tense, and in those fleeting moments, a chain of decisions turned lethal. Court testimony revealed that Darius Miles allegedly retrieved his firearm from Miller's vehicle and handed it to Michael Davis. Within seconds, shots rang out. Davis fired into the car where Jamea sat. Bullets tore through the night, one striking Jamea in the face. Cedric Johnson, desperate to protect his loved ones, returned fire. But the damage was already done. Brandon Miller's windshield was also hit, shattering as bullets zipped past. In that instant, the life of a young mother was extinguished, and two drastically different versions of the truth were born. Was this an unprovoked attack fueled by anger and rejection, or as one defense claimed, an act of self-defense after threats escalated? That question would linger long after the gunfire stopped. Cedric Johnson's world collapsed as he realized Jamea had been struck. With Asia terrified in the back seat and bullets still ringing in his ears, Johnson sped off. His only thought was to find help. That's when he spotted the campus officer and pulled over in desperation. Body cam footage later shown in court captured the heartbreaking scene. Cedric's voice cracked as he pleaded for help. His cousin in shock beside him, while officers quickly realized Jamea's wounds were fatal. Despite their efforts, she was pronounced dead on the scene. What had started as a simple food run ended in the irreversible loss of a daughter, a mother, and a friend. The investigation moved swiftly. Michael Davis, who had also been injured during the exchange of gunfire, was arrested after receiving treatment. Darius Miles was taken into custody hours later. Cameras captured the moment he appeared in court, visibly emotional, as his mother sobbed when the charges were read. The involvement of Alabama basketball players drew national headlines. Brandon Miller, whose car had been involved, testified but was never charged, a decision that sparked intense public debate. Another player, Jaden Bradley, was identified as a witness as well. In the weeks following the arrests, the central question echoed. Had the right men been charged, and what role did others really play that night? As the legal process unfolded, two paths emerged. For Michael Davis, the trial came first. In May of 2025, after a lengthy process of testimony, evidence review, and jury deliberation, Davis was convicted of capital murder. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would spend the rest of his days behind bars. But for Darius Miles, the story is still ongoing. He maintains his plea of not guilty, with his trial scheduled for December 1, 2025. His defense claims that what happened was not cold-blooded murder, but an act of self-defense, the desperate response to escalating threats. The contrast between the swift conviction of Davis and the prolonged wait for Miles highlights how uneven the pursuit of justice can feel. For Jamea's family, that wait stretches the pain, forcing them to relive the details over and over. Through it all, Jamea's family has fought to keep her memory alive. Her mother and stepfather have spoken out, refusing to let her name fade into just another headline. They pursued a wrongful death lawsuit, hoping to hold accountable those they felt shared responsibility for her killing. That lawsuit was eventually dismissed in 2025, another blow in their pursuit of justice. Yet out of heartbreak, they built something lasting, a trust fund for Jamea's son, Kane. If there's any light in the darkness, it's in ensuring that the little boy who lost his mother at only 5 years old will have support for his future. Every time his family speaks of him, it's a reminder that while trials drag on, life for Kane moves forward without the woman who should have been there for every milestone. The University of Alabama also faced the weight of this tragedy. Head coach Nate Oates gave statements, the school issued official responses, and the program found itself under a microscope. Questions were asked not only about what happened that night, but about the culture of guns, nightlife, and responsibility among young athletes. Across Tuscaloosa, the impact was deeply felt. The Strip, once just a stretch of nightlife, now carried the memory of gunfire and grief. The case became part of a larger conversation about the dangers of nightlife settings, the prevalence of firearms, and the devastating consequences that follow when violence erupts. But beyond the courtrooms and headlines, this is still a story about a young woman who should be alive today. It's about Jamea, a daughter, a friend, and most importantly, a mother. Every picture of her smiling with her son, every memory shared by her family, every word spoken in court reminds us that her life mattered. That is why her family created the trust fund for Kane, to ensure his mother's love lives on in a tangible way, even if she can't be there herself. As we close this story, we are left with images that are difficult to forget. The flashing police lights on the Strip, Cedric Johnson's desperate pleas, the broken cries of Jamea's mother in the days that followed, and the quiet resilience of a little boy growing up without the woman who gave him life. Jamea's story is not just about how she died, but how she lived. With love, with purpose, and with a devotion to her family that will never fade. If Jamea's story has moved you, help keep her memory alive. Share this video so her name is never forgotten. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Her family deserves to know the world remembers. And if you want to continue to hear the untold stories of lives cut short and families fighting for justice, subscribe to this channel. Every life deserves to be remembered. Every story deserves to be told. Because behind every headline, there is a person. And Jamea Jonae Harris was so much more than the way her life ended.